Good evening and welcome to Norwalk City School District Board of Education, regular session, February 10th, 2026. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Burkett. Here. Mrs. Crawford.
Here.
Mr. Gonzalez.
Here.
Mr. Norris.
Here.
Mr. Ritzenthaler.
Here.
Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mayor, motion to adopt the agenda.
So move.
Second. Second. Roll call, please.
Mr. Norris.
Yes.
Mrs. Burkett.
Yes.
Mrs. Crawford.
Yes.
Mr. Gonzalez.
Yes.
Mr. Ritzenthaler.
Yes.
Public input.
Yes, we have spent many months working on the 26-27 calendar. And like previous years, Mrs. Gerber is going to speak to the start, the end dates, and kind of all the things that happen in between. So, Mrs. Gerber. So the groups we work with is district leadership team. That was one group that we spent a lot of time with. The teachers have a committee, basically the calendar committee that we've met with. And clearly they're bringing kind of the voice from each of the buildings. So all those concerns of what we're looking for that makes sense, some requests that make sense we could do, others that just clearly don't. Clearly, you know, we're working with Norwalk Catholic as well because we want to make sure our schedules align, because if they don't, we would have busing issues. So night activities, professional development, we want to be very much in tune with what Norwalk Catholic is doing as well. So Martin Linder and his representatives were in play as well.
Unfortunately, our camera is not feeding into the YouTube page correctly at the moment.
Oh, sorry.
So everybody can hear us, but they can't see what's happening right now. So I'll everybody talk loudly, and they can download the picture of the camera or the calendar from the agenda website. And once I'm done talking, I'll try to go back up there and multitask our second technical difficulty of tonight. So I apologize for that. So when we plan the calendar, as Mr. Cooley said, there's a lot of different things that we take into consideration. We obviously want to maximize our time with kids, and we also want to make sure that we include our contractual items and work our PD days and holidays and things like that in ways that make sense, that are best for our community, for our kids, and our teachers. So a couple of the major changes that drove this calendar that you might notice that are different from last year. The biggest thing is that the Huron County Fair is a week later. And we try to respect that. We know that a lot of people and families like to go and enjoy that. So we do try to stay away from that. Because we have a certain number of contractual days that we do have to get in, we did include one teacher day that's on Friday of that week. And if we didn't do that, it would push the end of the school year a little bit farther into that second week of June. And so talking to our teachers, our administrators, they felt that that was a good compromise, given that circumstances here with the fair, was to have one day on Friday, and then 2 days the following week for staff, Monday and Tuesday, and then all of our kids in grades pre-K and 1 through 12 will start on Wednesday, the 26th. Our kindergarten students, if you remember, they stagger that start for them. So you have a group on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, and then all of our kindergarten students will start that following Monday, which is August 31st. Throughout the year, we have professional development days that are planned. We have one day in the fall. We also have one day in the spring. And then at the end of each of our semesters, we also have a contractual day that's half professional development and then also half grading. And if you notice on this calendar, the end of first semester is after Christmas, which we have tried to stay away from because we send everybody home for 2 weeks. And then this mostly affects the high school with their final exams. If we were to have their final exams before Christmas like we have in the past, there would be a 19-day difference between semester 1 and semester 2. And if you're teaching a semester class, that's a full month of instruction that your second semester classes are getting, that your first semester doesn't. And so trying to cram that all in before Christmas just to get that done, we felt that it was a good move to push that end of first semester to the second week of January. And again, that contractual PD day, which will be Friday, January 15th, following that end of the semester. So at the end of the school year then, we'll have first semester with 87 days and then second semester with 89 days. And our first quarter and third quarter are always usually a little bit longer, and that third quarter is always a little bit longer, and that's okay because like this year maybe we'll have a little extra snow days and that'll balance that out.
Back to only 3 next year though.
We're gonna add days to the calendar just to make those up, but Mr. Cooley had to call this year. So the other important things about the calendar, Again, I mentioned the teacher contractual days. They have to have 184 days. And if you go through and count all of them, you might see 183. But the day before Thanksgiving actually counts as a work day for our staff because they work 2 nights of parent-teacher conferences. So our high school staff and our 6th grade building and our middle school, they have one in the fall, one in the spring. And then our K to 5 grades, they have their conferences, as you can see, they're on 2 nights in the fall. The 17th, which is a normal school day for everyone, with night conferences. And then on the 19th, Thursday, that's a 2-hour early release for grades K to 5, and then night conferences again. In second semester, we have our typical holidays of Martin Luther King Jr. Day in January, President's Day in February, and then in March, we have our Spring Professional Development Day, and then our spring break this year is coordinated around Easter. So this kind of depends from year to year. Sometimes it's been late, and we've had spring break at the end of third quarter. With this year, it worked out that it wasn't too close to the end of the school year, and so we have Good Friday off, and then that following week for spring break. This also lines up with how St. Paul likes to have their Holy Week and have their kids in school and then spring break, and it makes a lot easier for our transportation department if we can coordinate with them as much as humanly possible. So we speak to Mr. Linder every year when we have our calendar draft, they have their calendar draft, and our calendars lined up almost identical. The only differences are that they have a PD day in November, we have one in March. That's not a problem for our transportation because that's just a matter of their kids go, ours don't, ours go, theirs don't, and so that's not a huge deal for them. Other than that, they line up and it works for our schools very well. The other change that you'll notice on here is the end of the school year. We have the kindergarten ending on May 28th, which is a Friday. Last year, this was kind of a late addition change to the school year, and this works out really well for our kindergarten teachers because they use those first 3 days in June to do their screening. And if you've ever stopped in or you want to stop in and see what that screening looks like, it's pretty amazing. And they bring the kids in, they let them play, they talk to them, they look at their behaviors, they assess their skills, and then their whole grade level sits down with some pizza, of course, for education purposes. And they go through all those things that they've looked at with the kids, and they place them the best they can for their classes. So having those kids leave on the 28th so they can bring that next group in for 3 days, that has been very helpful to them. So that's the other addition on there. The very last day of school for our kids and the other grades, so grades 1 and pre-K and 1 through 11 is Friday, June 3rd. And then we have a staff work day again at the end of the school year there on the 4th. And then our commencement will be Saturday, June 5th. Do you guys have any questions on that at all?
Looks good.
More comments?
Thank
So
you.
this is the presentation. Next month will be the approval end. So we have our entire month here for others to look at it, even though they're very much a deep dive into landing a good calendar. So thank you, Mrs. Gerber, for all of your work with it.
Yes, a lot of work. Thank you.
It looks good.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Next is public participation. Each person who wishes to address the board will be asked to give his or her name and address. Remarks should be limited to 3 minutes in length. If after everyone who wishes to do so has had an opportunity to speak, additional comments can be made up to a total allotted time of 30 minutes. All right, treasurer reports.
Alrighty, so first we have the minutes. We have 3 different meetings: organizational, the regular session, the records retention, even though the records retention isn't technically a board meeting, but we have 3 sets to approve. January financial report for 2026. The big thing for January was school district income tax arrived. It comes quarterly. That was our 3rd payment of the year. It was slightly above last year, same quarter, by just under $70,000. Bad news is we're still under last year for all 3 quarters, and our next payment's one of the smaller ones by around $40,000. So I did adjust the forecast down a little bit there. I'm a bit concerned about that. The state breaks it down into the different groups, whether it's withholding or it's from people that don't have to pay withholding that pay in estimated taxes. So it's a little bit murky as to exactly where it's all going down at, because it looks like withholding is still pretty much steady. It's mostly in the estimated. So we'll see on the next payment, but I'm hoping it comes back up. You'll notice a difference on our property tax collection. We did not receive an advance in January. We just tomorrow are receiving an advance, which is good because payroll and insurance is on Friday and we were having a little bit of a cash crunch, but they did at least do the advance, so it'll be coming tomorrow. So in the end, once we're done through the advances and settlement, then we'll be able to have that settle up. You'll also notice that capital outlay shows a negative amount. That's because the school bus, the wheelchair accessible school bus that we bought, that had so many problems, went back to, I won't say the name of the company, but it went back to the company. They're gonna sell it to another school district. It just had too many quality issues. It wasn't exactly what we wanted. We weren't happy. I'm glad they took it back, but it's unfortunate that they had to take it back because there were so many quality issues with it. So we will be looking to rebid that. We're probably gonna get on the Ohio School Council bus bid and do that. We're also looking at a smaller wheelchair van because we need to have something as a backup in case our wheelchair bus breaks down. We have to be able to transport those wheelchair students. So there's another school district that has one for sale used. So Anthony's gonna go look at it and hopefully we might be able to do that. And then hop on to the school bus bid for the new wheelchair bus and possibly look to get some more buses. We need to make our fleet a little bit better. It's getting a little bit older, but we don't have any money to buy 4 to 6 buses all at once. So we're looking to do something with a little bit of financing and then pay it off over time, kind of the way we pay off our vehicles. It's the same thing. Interest rates are pretty low right now, so it would be a good time to go ahead and do this. And if we do the Ohio School bid, then we can use that to buy it all at once instead of trying to bid out and lock ourselves down to having actual number of buses. So that's where we're at with that. So for the rest of it, we'll move on to the financial forecast and we'll talk a little bit more about things. I left this for you at your spots. 2 parts, remember the big spreadsheet, and then we have the assumptions. So if you want to kind of look at your sheet here, this just feels weird doing it in February. It was always October and May, and then it changed to November and May, and now it's going to be August and February. So we just did this in October, and it just feels like it hasn't really changed that much, and that's true. It really hasn't changed that much. The other big change was instead of being a 5-year forecast, now it's kind of like a 3-year forecast, even though it's 1 year plus 3 year. So they just lopped off 1 year. I'm not sure why they didn't take off another year because it really is hard to know by the time you're out that far, especially with the state budget only being 2 years. So if we want to go ahead and start and on the forecasted on the revenues, which is on the very top, when you look at the spreadsheet, you'll see our property tax. I sat down with Roland for a couple hours last week trying to figure out exactly where we're at with our property tax numbers. He did give me the actual number for tax year 25 payable 26, which of course splits over fiscal years. So the first payment is going to be in February, which is this one right now in the 26 fiscal year. The next second half is going to be in the 27 fiscal year. I'm not sure, normally it's like 43 or 57% first half, 43% second half as far as collection. But with the changes with the 4 property tax bills that have been adopted, we're not really sure how that's going to go in effect. But one big thing is if you pay your property taxes yourself, they're due Friday the 13th. If you pay your property taxes yourself, don't pay the full year this year. Only pay the first half because there's going to be a credit for the second half. So the way it's going to work is a second half credit. If you've already paid it, they're just going to hold on to that money until the next year, next February. So it's better to only pay the first half and then get billed the actual amount for the second half instead of basically letting the county keep your money for a full year, which I did ask, and they intend to just keep it. They're not going to refund it to anyone on second half. And they're not going to, because my concern too is, are they going to pay it out to the taxing entities if it comes in early and then ask us to refund it at a later date? But that's not, when I talked to Megan last Friday, that wasn't how she thought it was going to be. The county treasurers have sent out a memo. Some of the counties included it with their tax bill, some of it didn't. I believe Ottawa County did, Erie County didn't, Huron County didn't, that told taxpayers, don't pay the second half until it comes due. So that's something that maybe we could put that out there because it's important not to do that. that credit, that amount is going to be reimbursed to the taxing entities, the schools and everybody else by the state. So what's gonna happen is the number is gonna be less going forward. So you see that when you look at the forecast for fiscal '27, that the tax number is less, the property tax, because the state is gonna reimburse it. The state, when they do that, they require us to actually call it state reimbursements for property tax credits. So you see that down at the bottom where that number increased. I'm estimating it around $300,000 for a half. I'm not really sure. We're not sure yet how any of these 4 tax bills are gonna work together. Which one is gonna be applied before the other? The OSBA just sent out some information today about 129 being in effect before 186, meaning that the inside millage reduction will happen before the tax credit comes on. Well, of course it will, because then the state has to pay less out. So it's kind of, but none of this is for sure. And when I talked to Roland, he had no information really from the state exactly how it was gonna work either. So this is, the tax numbers going forward are just my best estimate, right? I will keep you updated if we get any hard data, I'll let you know, but so far nobody really knows how it's gonna work exactly or what's gonna continue to happen, because if you've already gotten your tax bill and looked at it, you'll notice that it went up for most people.
A few dollars.
Yeah. So our Norwich City school districts, our school district tax has gone down, our effective millage has gone down, but other taxing entities in our group have gone up. Like I know EHOBI's has gone up a little bit for their bond levy. Ours, of course, went down. So people are gonna see an increase in their tax bill after hearing that property tax reform less, there's gonna be a disconnect there. So I'm not sure how that's gonna go over, and trying to explain taxes to people is, tough. So anyhow. And then the second one is the public utility, which is called tangible personal property tax. This is a tax that, it's like on your transmission lines, and railroad, and Columbia Gas, different public utilities like that. Whenever they have something, it doesn't change by much. You'll see that over the years, there's not been much change to that. When you look way out there, I yellowed it for you. You see how that drops by quite a bit. That's our emergency levy. It had been renewed. It was originally put on for 5 years. It was renewed for 10 years as an emergency levy. The state eliminated emergency levies going forward. They would allow us to put on a fixed sum levy one more time for 5 years when this renews or expires. We'll have to look at it then to decide which way is the best way to do it, because if it's only a 1 year and instead of it being separate and not affecting our 20 mil floor, it's gonna be put into the 20 mil floor in our reappraisal year of 26. So there's no reason really to do it as a fixed sum again, because it's already gonna be in, so we might as well do it like as a current expense operating levy. But kind of have to wait for all this tax stuff to shake out, and we have a couple years there before we have to look at it. But the important part is the first half of 29 will be the first half of the collection, so I estimate that around $770,000, because it's a $1.5 million levy. So we'll have to figure out what to do there, but that is why you see that going way down. And of course, when we get to the bottom, you'll see it's gonna have a major effect on our negative amount. But you can't show revenue from taxes that haven't been passed yet. So that's why we had to take it out. Next big one is the income tax. We just talked a little bit about that. I did take that number down a little bit because I'm concerned that it's not gonna come in. It came in really strong last year, and that was pretty exciting. But I'm not sure that's gonna happen again this year. We'll be lucky really to hit the same number basically as we did last year. So I took that number down, and the same thing, I reduced it a little bit going out forward from what I had on the October forecast. Next comes the state foundation funding. It's called unrestricted state grants and aid, but this is just our basic state foundation funding. It also includes our Medicaid reimbursements, because those come through the state, and our catastrophic costs or threshold costs, which is students that are categories 5 and 6 above $26,000, $32,000. Special education students that we pay more than that, they allow us to claim catastrophic cost reimbursement from the state. Unfortunately, they changed the way this was done a few years back. So instead of it being a separate appropriation by the state where everybody applied to the pool to receive the money, it became a deduction from every school's special education funding of 10%. So if you're a district like Norwalk, you have a higher state funding percentage. Ours is around this year 52%. Well, if you're a state that's receives more money through property taxes, you're only getting the minimum state amount, which is 10%. Therefore, you're not getting much money from the state, you're getting it from property taxes. So in turn, your special education funding from the state is very small. So a 10% deduction of very small is very small compared to a 10% deduction from bigger districts. We're paying a lot more money into this pool, and we're barely able to get the money back out. And I have been complaining about this ever since I realized it, but it still is the same. But it is unfortunate, and that is a deduction that comes right off our state funding. And then they give it back to us as the threshold cost. So that's the other thing that's built into the state funding number. You'll see that number went down this year. We lost around $310,000. That was the new state budget bill. For all you hear about how schools are getting more money, education is getting more money, which, okay, but a lot of that education, I mean, we have $1 billion going to private schools. So yes, those schools are getting more money. We are receiving less, $300,000 in our state. Next year, we expect that to only go up by the $300,000 because it will be year 6 of the 6-year phase-in on the Fair School Funding Plan. So next year will be the actual first year that we are technically completely fully funded on the Fair School Funding Plan. Unfortunately, they didn't change the inputs on that, right? They made the inputs follow what our new tax valuation is and a new property wealth, but they did not update it with our expenses, which is our salaries, benefits, anything that is electric, all the things that inflation has affected, those are still based on fiscal 22. And of course, next year will be 27. So it's off by 5 years. The restricted state grants and aid is where they restrict a lot of our foundation funding. This is the gifted, career tech, student wellness money, disadvantaged pupil impact. This increased last year, because you'll see when you look the difference between 24 and 25, the $1.3 million increase. This is because when we went to the CEP program, it showed every student as disadvantaged, economically disadvantaged. So it increased our DIPA money. And this happened for every district that went to CEP, which they changed the formula on CEP from 45% down to 25%. So a lot more schools did this. Well, a lot more schools did this, so then the state had to pay out a lot more money. So then the state said, wait, we're going to change this, and we're going to change the way we do the formula that we figure your disadvantaged pupil impact on. So now it's off our direct certified as a percentage, and next year it'll be off direct certified as a lower percentage. So you see this number going down. So we lost $300,000 this year. Next year's just an estimate. I'm not exactly sure where it's going to end up at. I estimated 100,000. I know it's going to be less, but until we know our direct cert numbers, we don't know exactly what that's going to be. So you see that number decreasing. The next line is the state reimbursements. These are your homestead and rollback credits. The rollback credit is changing. It used to be 10% and 2.5%. It is changing from 12.5 if you're just a regular property owner. It's going to change slowly. It's going to shift. And the 10% is going to be gone except for agricultural. They're keeping that for farmland, the 10%. But for business, it's going away. Or for residential that's not owner occupied, like an Airbnb or like a 4-unit apartment building, something like that, that you're not, it's residential but not owner occupied. So that's going to shift over to the 2.5%. So they're going to move the 10 to the 2.5 slowly over a few years. And by the time it's done, instead of it being 12.5, it's going to be 15.38. So it'll be a slight increase while they're getting rid of the 10% on all of the other types of property. You do see an increase there, 25 to 20 and 26 from previous. That's because when our property tax numbers went up, it meant that the state reimbursements for the homestead and rollback also went up. So that was what the increase was for that. Last line is our all other revenue. So this is everything that doesn't fit exactly into one of those other categories. So it's any student fees, any interest is really a big part of that one. We've had a lot more interest income, but it's anything else that we would collect funds for when we rent the facilities. If we sell something, any of that, it always just goes into that. It's kind of like the catch-all. And then the final one is the all other revenue or financing sources. This is just a generic, sometimes we get reimbursements on workman's comp. SCRS will do a refund on the surcharge. So these are odd items that don't normally happen. So that is the end of our revenues. The big decrease, of course, is the taxes in year 29, but other than that, I've pretty much just kept it on historical estimates. So then we scoot down to the expenditure side. First part is personal services. This is just your salaries. This is for salaries for all of our staff members except for cafeteria and people that are out of the different grants. We've got some special ed grants, we've got a title grant. Those are all pretty much the same. We didn't receive any increases this year. And it looks like maybe next year on the federal level that we're gonna see the same level amount of funding. This was a concern. We were worried about our federal grants going away, but it looks like they're gonna stay the same, hopefully. We did approve the negotiated agreement for 3 years, so you see that built into it. Severance is a big one out of here. We're looking at a lot of retirements coming forward. We did set aside some money in severance so that we're ready to be able to pay that. So if we do have a really high year with a lot of severance that's paid out, we can pay it out of that 035 fund without it having too much of a hit to our general fund. So that was kind of the plan with that. Next is the retirement insurance. The largest chunk of this is your medical. We had a 10% increase on the medical costs. We were fortunate that the teachers agreed to the working spouse language, which reduced their medical premium down. So even with the 10%, it brought it down to less than what they had been paying last year because they had a 14% penalty on it. So that was really important. We did have to do a reimbursement. So it's actually pretty much a break even there, but it's better that we pay it to our employees than that we pay it to HESI. And going forward, that'll be a big difference. We went to the premium savings option plan for all of our new employees, which is a really good plan. It's still very good insurance, but it's a lot less expensive. So, and it's not gonna affect anyone that's already here because their insurance has not changed. Medicare and the retirement, the SCRS and STRS runs right off your salary number, so it increases as your salaries increase. And then we have the dental, life, and vision that's also in there. Next is purchase services. When we do our financial meeting on the 24th, you'll be able to see each of these items broke down. Purchase services, a lot of the costs that aren't discretionary, there are special ed costs, there are tuition costs for students that go to other schools. Things that we don't really have much control over is what's in there. The supplies and materials is the next line item. The biggest thing that we had lately was we did a math curriculum, which was just under $500,000, $460,000 that we paid for last year and this year that's coming out of that. I decreased that going forward because I hope we're done buying curriculum going forward. We just did the reading. The reading we were able to buy out of the ESSER money, and then there was a little bit of state funding on the literacy side. So that didn't hurt as much as this, but when you do a whole K-12 curriculum, it's pretty expensive, so $500,000 on that. And then capital outlay, this is the new bus, the $197,000. It's still there because we're thinking that we're gonna buy a new bus. We did buy a van to use to transport our students up to, we have some special ed students going to a special school up by Fairview Park in Grafton. We were paying literally hundreds of thousands of dollars for the transportation company to take them there. So we bought a bus. We're in the middle of getting a driver for this and an aide, and we're gonna start taking the students ourselves, and that should really save us a lot out of our special ed going forward. So hopefully we're ready to start that by March 1st. Final line is other objects. This is another thing that we don't have a whole lot of control over. It's county auditor fees. It's the fees for the audit, liability insurance, items that aren't really discretionary. We don't have, last year we had some transfers and advances. We don't have any of those that I'm anticipating this year. I hope food service is able to pull it out for the year. We did transfer $120,000 into them last year. Of course, we received all that extra DIPO money, so it's not like they didn't deserve to get the money. And Mr. Kraft's been kind of struggling. The cost of food have gone way up. his staffing is getting better. So we're hoping that this year he doesn't need to have anything transferred in. I don't anticipate it. I think he'll end the year in a positive, but we will see. All that said, we're looking at a deficit this year of just over $500,000. I do believe my October one had us at about $7.75 million. We did have some changes. Some people have left. Custodians, we had a custodian retire mid-year that had been with us for many years. We had a teacher leave mid-year, you know, things like that that haven't been replaced yet. And I'm not sure where we're headed with replacements. So we've had some decrease in our expenses there. The year, of course, that looks really bad is the last one because we don't have the tax revenue, but we do have to have our financial meeting and start discussing what we want to do. Of course, it doesn't take much to look at this to realize that it's all in salaries. That's that is the chunk. That is what schools are, they're people. But we do have a lot of retirements coming up, so that really helps because if we can figure the staffing moved around and not replace people, then we'll be able to hopefully put this off without having to do any RIFs or anything like that with people that weren't planning on retiring. So that is the hope going forward, that we can address this by that way. We do have some staff that does need to be replaced. I mean, we have some special ed, our caseload numbers are certain things, we need speech. There's things that by law we're required to have. So we do still need to hire some new staff, but hopefully with the ones that are leaving, it'll be better. So with that, any questions?
Do you have any idea of the ballpark figure of delinquent property taxes that are out there?
Yes. I'd have to look and see. We get, delinquents are paid, and you know what, I meant to ask Roland about that, because I was wondering if delinquents were paid on the old bond, if it would just show up on the new bond or not. Every so often, I feel like it's probably been maybe 8 years now, the county will do a delinquent tax sale where they sell everything that's owed to a company that basically buys it. It's not always that good because then that company's very aggressive about collecting. So they haven't done it for a while, but
So
we're
you're
not.
talking about banks and things like that that are owed when they have to sell delinquent. I mean, they're delinquent on their taxes, so it
Yes,
goes to
any
sheriff's.
property owner that's delinquent, it can be bought up, and then if they don't pay, then whoever bought it can foreclose on their house, yes, just like a bank can.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a company that actually does that. It's called Tax Ease, I believe. And they would buy the delinquent notes and then,
Do we ever recover some of that? I
oh,
mean,
yeah.
we get
Yeah,
it
when
then.
it's paid. And that's why, like, when they would do that tax sale, then we would receive a big chunk of money. And they did do, it's probably been about 8 years. I know it's since I've been back. And then it was probably like $300,000-$400,000 extra that we received in delinquent taxes. There's always some that are paid every year,
Okay.
so. And a lot of that is sometimes like mortgage companies don't get it paid on time and it'll show up delinquent. You know, if somebody else is paying it for you and they're not paying attention to getting it in on the correct date.
Okay. Another question I have with the buses, you mentioned the buses. So Corey and Tim will have to get something to us like in March or something. If we're gonna order buses, we need to get them. It takes about, what, 4 or 5 months to get them?
It took, with this last wheelchair bus, it was probably a good 4 or 5 months.
Mhm.
Trying to remember when we put the bid on and it took a while. And then it wasn't even very well built, so,
Yeah.
yeah.
So they would have to get something to us in the March meeting so we can get that through. Okay, so we can see that on the next agenda. Okay.
Right.
So that you're mentioned, so we could make payments like a car payment, like on maybe four buses.
Yes. Mhm.
Okay.
Right, and I talked to Mike from Baird about doing the financing. That was something that they can arrange for us, so.
And we need the buses because some of them are probably not gonna pass state some of our older buses won't pass the audit from the
Right,
state of.
right. The state highway patrol comes out and they do inspections of school buses and they have a sticker on them, right? So they call it pulling the sticker. So if they don't pass the state highway patrol's inspection, they'll pull the sticker. And it's not like your car. I mean, school buses have to be in a lot better shape than, a vehicle sometimes can be, obviously. And unfortunately, school buses aren't really, they're just plywood and sheet metal, so they get very rusty quickly. Our mechanic Anthony's done a really good job of keeping up with them, so even if they pull the sticker, he can usually fix whatever's wrong and get it back on the road. It's rare that they get really where they can't, unless something major happens, like the frame's rotted or things like that, but we are at the point where we need to get some new buses, and we now have a bus wash. So that helps, because with all the salt, that's big on the buses and they sit outside. So that's tough on them too. Hopefully, a new building, we'll have a new bus garage and they can all be inside, and that would go a long way towards wear and tear on the buses.
Clean them and
Cleaning
off
them
and
and
put them in a
keeping them
bus
inside.
garage, and
Mhm.
I mean, the last couple of weeks, you can see our buses going around town here and they're dirty and you can't wash them, they'll
Right.
freeze. I mean, the ice on
It's
there,
gonna be
so.
even worse this week with everything melting and the
Yeah,
salt in the roads.
yeah.
It's just, it's
But,
horrible.
but at least we can squirt them down maybe and get that salt off.
We use brine, so it's 10 times worse than salt.
Mhm. For sure.
But I just want to make sure that, I was talking with Corey and Tim and they were saying that, they hope that we can get those buses that are just on the edge of maybe not being passed, maybe get another year out of them, but they're not promising anything, so,
Right. And
we
yeah, and then
need
it's
to-
good we can keep those for sub buses.
yeah.
Doing athletics and,
It'd be nice to have an estimate of what that would cost, like what the payment would be for 4 buses. If it's monthly, it'd be nice to see what the estimate.
yeah,
of
and
that is.
usually it's a yearly payment.
Okay. Just, since we're looking at finances in 2 weeks, it would be nice to know this would be a new expense. So I just wanna figure
Um,
that in as well.
Right, yes.
Let me ask about permanent improvement money. We've got, another payment coming in on February 13th.
Yes.
Yes, okay. And hopefully we don't have a boiler go or something like that, so. Yeah, I shouldn't say it. I should keep my mouth shut on that, but you never know. But, okay.
Right.
And can that money be used for buses or?
Well, technically, a permanent improvement is supposed to be for capital assets with a life longer than 5 years over a certain dollar threshold. It depends on how your ballot language is written, what your permanent improvement exactly can be written for, because some are written with different language, so we would need to look and see exactly what our ballot language says. In the past, we've never bought vehicles out of our permanent improvement fund, but maybe it's something that we need to take a look at how it's worded and with a broader mind.
That would be a permanent improvement for longer than 5 years.
Certainly 5 years.
Well, that's what a permanent improvement is, but it goes back to what the ballot language says you can do, like when we passed the ballot language for the building, for the debt, we were very careful to make sure it was very open-ended so that it could be used for really anything for the school or anything that the school needs over there, and not limited us in any way. So that's kind of what it comes down to.
So looking at your forecast, even with some updates, and I realize you don't have a crystal ball, so you're not gonna know what all the changes of the state are gonna look like. We're still looking at needing to cut at least $1 million.
That's my recommendation is, we need to get back into the positive for sure.
I
So
feel
we
like
need to look for $1 million. And this isn't, we've kind of been getting saved, over the years. It was the ESSER money that helped us through, that really covered a lot. We were able to pay a lot of salaries and do a lot of things with the ESSER money, and then when that ran out, we got the DIPA money. That was a surprise. I knew that there would be more money. I was not expecting it to be that much money. $1.3 million, that was a surprise. And then came the property tax increase, that was $1.6 million. So this is something we've had. What we needed to do is cut this $1 million out. But we've had these other little kind of basically one-time monies come through. And I'm not sure where the property tax is going. If it's gonna stay, they supposedly guaranteed it to stay at 24. Well, 24 was before the increase. So I don't know if that means property taxes, what we receive are gonna go back down. I don't know, but yeah, and I don't see anything out there that's gonna save us, you know, like we've had prior.
We had our administrative meeting yesterday, so we've talked, and with a lot of the retirements through attrition, we believe we'll be able, 2 weeks from now, you'll see some of the moves we'll make that will not have any impact on our kids' programming, which is critical. And us, like many districts around us, we have a slight downturn in enrollment. So with that, when some of you that are trucker graduates that went through far larger numbers than what we would, even having less on a grade level, number of teachers per grade level. So those are clearly things that we're targeting right now. That might be a kid or two more per class, but nothing close to a contractual hitting a cap. So that will be our goal, and we'll hopefully be able to show that here in 2 weeks to you.
Okay, all right, so then all we have left are disposal. We have, Norwood Catholic has some auxiliary items that they sent that have been bought with state auxiliary funds that flow through the school, to the public school, to the private school. And they're asking to dispose of them. And then the electric piano at middle school that we replaced with a donation from Mary Bauer and her friend. So,
Does that still work?
not according to, Wilkish, no.
Okay.
Yeah. Or at least it doesn't work well enough that anyone could really use it.
So we need the new one pretty bad. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so it's good we have that. And that's all I have for you.
Thanks, Joyce. Is there a motion to approve items 4.1 through 4.4 under treasurer reports?
So moved.
Second? Second. Any other discussion?
Appreciate your work on this. I know it's a lot of time, energy, and effort to put all this
Joyce.
together.
Thank you very much.
And I also appreciate the work that's gonna go into the next meeting, so I know that you probably didn't love my email list of things, I apologize. And again, and I told Joyce, you know, she asked me for my list, I gave it to her. But
That
if
was
there's
not
anything.
the list you originally said.
I told you though, that I was
It's fine.
keeping it going as I thought about it. I'd wake up in the middle of the night and I'd think, oh, you know, I'd be like to know that as well, but
And if anybody else has anything special you wanna see, I mean, I've been putting everything together, cause like, I'm sorry, I'm like so excited you guys are here.
75-page document?
knock it off. It wasn't that bad. But no, honestly, I just want to understand it because it's hard for us, or okay, I shouldn't say us, hard for me to
Us.
listen to some of the recommendations and then I'll have questions and, you know,
Right,
I'm sure, I mean, I want to believe that Eric thought some of the same things that I had on my list. If you do the same thing, I don't know, but I just wanted to understand some of it and be able to answer to it. And $1 million is a lot. I mean, to cut $1 million out of any budget is a lot, and we're
Right.
dealing with kids. So I just want to fully understand it. So I don't mean to be a pain to any of the people that are probably working on it, but I would like to understand it. And when
Yeah.
you come with recommendations, I want to understand fully what that might mean. And so I
Yeah.
apologize.
To be clear though, I don't think there's an expectation that we're gonna cut $1 million over the course of 1 or maybe even 2 years. It's likely going to be over the course of 3 to 5, maybe more.
Is that the plan?
no,
I was gonna say, I don't think that's the plan
I
at
think
all.
it's over.
I'm
Okay, I should say, I hope that's not the
anticipating
plan.
those conversations.
Okay, yeah, I mean, I don't think we have a lot of choice than to cut $1 million rather. Well, I mean, here's the, either we start to work on it and cut it rather quickly in terms of, because we know we have to, or it gets cut for us because we don't have the funds to pay for the bills. So I think that one way or the other, we cut $1 million, unless I'm,
no,
mean,
that's what, I mean,
and from
you know,
my
if it's
understanding.
$975,000, we're fine, but you know, $1 million is a round number, and I think, with the retirements that we have coming up, I think we're okay. I think we can do it as long as we're not replacing all these people. You know, that's the big thing is, but that's gonna be, you know, slightly larger class sizes or, you know, doing some more sharing or more people having to do more different things that maybe they didn't have to do before, you know, there's gonna be all of that. So Dan started a Google Sheets that we've all been putting information into. The only problem is it's hard to get a lot of my stuff is interactive, which doesn't always work so well with that, but you know, But we'll share that with you once we're ready, and then you'll be able to go in and click onto the different links that takes you to the actual page, because like there's a lot of different fiscal benchmarking that's in there that the state has already done. So you can see like the things you had asked about, like custodial benchmarking or, you know, cost of food service and things like that. But to compare yourself statewide is there and similar districts are there, but then you can pick other districts to compare to. But if you want to compare to any other district, you need the interactive link. So,
Right.
and I know you said you wanted this stuff printed out, so we'll print what we,
Well, I mean, if you send it electronically, I'm sure we'll be fine.
okay.
I'll print it for Ralph.
Thank you.
No, it's okay, we can print it out, it's just.
I'm just joking. I just wanted to be able to see some of it before the meeting, obviously. It's hard to look at it at the meeting where we're starting to talk it out. I
Yep,
just wanted
yep.
to have a little time to look at it before. So
Well, and the-
if it's electronic, I'm fine.
Yeah, and it's not gonna be just one meeting, I mean, there's
Absolutely,
way
right.
too much, we're gonna have so much information.
But I know
for
that
you.
Brad had a lot prepared for this coming meeting, so I just wanted to be able to look at that stuff and then hear what he's saying, and then I just wanted to be able to look at some data, cause right, like, okay, looking at this is extremely helpful. But it's not that detailed either, so, okay, I can see the salaries, but I can't look at how much of that is coming from what each grade level, or how many students do I have per class, and I can't see that on the financials here, so
Right.
I'm not, I guess I just wanna, when they come, or you guys both come with your recommendations, I wanna be able to see, okay, what do we have now, and what are you recommending?
Right, and
What's
that,
the change? So,
One of the things that we can see too, that as we work through this, that in 3 years, when we're in a new PK8 building, just the efficiencies that we can't, determine now, just for the mere fact that we're in the same building.
and that's one of the reasons we brought that to the
We
community
have
to do
shared
this.
teachers, that travel between buildings, you lose instructional time, so a lot of those inefficiencies will be solved.
the thing about the salaries and I mean, you need to look at enrollment and class sizes for each grade level, but it's hard to put the salaries to it. I mean, I can put the salaries to it, but you can't say all of your grade levels should have the equal amount of salaries because everybody's different.
They're in a different, I get it.
So
Right.
that one's tough, and that's something we get into, it's called comparability with the title buildings. They wanna make sure that you're not putting all of your new staff, which would be less expensive, like in a title building. For us, we're district-wide, so it doesn't matter, but like in bigger districts, you might have a building that has fourth grade in each one, like we used to. They wanna make sure that you're not putting all of your, so there's that, but salaries are a little bit tough to say, well, the grade levels are never gonna be even because the teachers in it aren't even, which is good because you want a mix in every grade level, so you have your mentor teachers helping your newbies and all that. But we'll have it all for you, not to worry. Fun stuff. I think this is exciting. I'm glad you're all excited and interested in it,
We're not gonna have necessarily names on all these positions
No, I
because
get it.
some of these resignations you've accepted the last few months going forward, like those are known people, but then we're also talking like who's filling those positions, who's
Yeah.
going, so like some of those, so we'll have titles, we'll have,
Yeah.
grade level positions.
Grade level title, yeah, I get it.
But the expensive piece, I'm looking at you, Ms. Burkett, Retiba has come to us because of classroom and some of our special ed needs, that you have to increase the number. We might need to add additional class on those things, and it's not a matter of superintendent, director of operations, what would you like to do? It's here's what we're gonna do, make it happen, find a room, get a quality staff member. So some of those are happening. So some of these things are tied to elementary of having 175 rather than what some of you remember of 220 in a grade level, maybe 240 even, like that's the difference. Those are things that we can address, and nobody feels the pain. I mean, we deliver quality instruction, education to our kids, nothing's felt. So like those are the smart moves we can do. But some of these things we know they'll have to be hires for.
With the new building, is there any anticipation of like some of our higher need students coming back? Like, are we prepping for that, or is that part of like the vision, just for my own knowledge, not, or we kind of compete with New Story a little bit, right? Like our students who are autistic, they have some needs that maybe their parents feel would be better addressed at News Story. But maybe having like an autism specific classroom would be appealing. Like, are those conversations being had? Do you anticipate that
Yeah,
possibly
so
happening?
absolutely. We have several classrooms that we're looking to do that. We also are
Okay.
looking at other needs of other students that we're saying we probably
Absolutely.
can't best serve. Like
Sure.
sometimes you have to put a kid on a van and go
Yes.
to like a specialty area that we might not be able to provide. So yes, those discussions are being had. I don't think initially, like, let's have every kid who lives in our district that goes elsewhere come here because we can do it best. We can have our staff, like, we're looking at some of these things. We probably can't. Because
Right.
it just like a kid that would choose to go to Ehovie. Well, I want the kid to stay at Norwalk High School. Well, programs at Ehovie are like, they make sense for the student to go to Ehovie. So sometimes you have to do that. And some of these programs are realizing that's the case. So yes, we're gonna have some kids that go elsewhere that will be in this district, others will be. So maybe you want to expound on that, other scenarios. So,
And I do out of district for Sandusky, so like I know that there's kids that just, the district can't meet that student's needs.
right.
But I didn't know if there's, at least from what I'm seeing, there's an increase in students with autism that have, some more challenging needs that can't be met necessarily in that gen ed classroom. But, with, special classrooms that are built more for them, that might be more appealing to get some of those students back from other schools,
Right. And it's
especially when
challenging.
it's choice.
It's challenging because of some of our class sizes in each building.
Oh, yeah.
Because, so I would say, well, I know where space is, let's go there. And then Retiba will push back and say, well, they should be with their peer group.
Yeah.
So it's like, is 1 grade, 2 grades, that might be okay. You start getting 3 grades off from what that age level that kid is, it's not smart, it doesn't make sense. So
Okay.
that's some of those things that we're having to look at now, because some of the buildings, as you know, are not equipped for that. And we're trying to avoid having to pay the additional expense of bringing another modular unit in on, in our parking spaces.
All right, just curious.
Admin team has been invited, so the entire admin team, so all the principals will be here, all the directors, they're guaranteed to be here 2 weeks from now. So those like building level specific things, they'll be here to address those items as well.
Thank you.
We were thinking about trying to move it to the LGI. Did you ask Robin?
To the art gallery.
Art gallery.
Art gallery. That way we could make it more, instead of like
Yeah, right.
we could all be more
Interactive.
together and go over it a little bit, so that was the
You're gonna
thought,
see
if
their
it's open.
space.
Right, so we can be on the same plane. So
Yeah.
obviously it's been advertised, so, depending how many
Yeah.
teachers and community folks come in, but we'll have seating available.
That'd be nice.
So if you guys prefer that, we'll
Yeah,
try to
that'd
do
be
that
great.
if it's not currently booked.
I'd like it to be more interactive and discussional then.
Is this going to be catered?
We're trying to cut expenses. Are you
Starbucks.
catering?
Brad Kraft?
Our landscaping,
What'd you
lawn
say?
care,
He's the sponsor.
Doors Lawn Care.
The only thing bad with the date now is because we didn't know this before, is girls likely will be playing hoops that night at Buckeye Central.
Oh, man.
And we'll likely be playing, we're a 2 seed, we'll likely be playing the 1 seed, who is Ashland.
So
So-
that's something
There-
that
I
would make-
mean,
Assuming we handle Mansfield Senior, that's likely the path.
Okay, is this something, I don't see why we can't flex this date. This is an add-on to have this discussion, it's not like, I don't know about, I'm open to flexing the
I'm fine,
date, I'm
yeah.
fine with it.
Yeah, if that's the case, that might be
Yeah.
something.
Okay.
Do you wanna look at the rest of the week and,
I can, obviously, we have a lot of people that have this on their calendar, so
oh,
I'm saying the others, but clearly I would be missing Josh Slaughter if you want to talk about athletics and what's playing, like he's not gonna be here that night. But I could check with the other ones, we could throw out other dates, but that's something we didn't know when we scheduled this.
Right.
because
yeah,
this
but I
date
also
was
don't wanna think about
wide
anybody else
open.
that wants to be there to support them.
Yeah, the draw was on Sunday, so those are coming up, so. And like I said, we have to win, that's not the next game. You have to win to get there, but, if we do what we typically, we should be able to handle all the teams up to that point, so,
Just let us know.
okay.
Great, any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Norris,
Yes.
Mrs. Burkett,
Yes.
Mrs. Crawford.
Yes.
Mr. Gonzalez.
Yes.
Mr. Ritzenthaler.
Yes.
Okay, personnel?
5.1, we have 2 resignations. Julie Batovic, she is our employee but has worked at Norwalk Catholic for some time, so you may know her from at St. Paul. Jill Lieber has been with us for 22 years, educational assistant, just quality person. She, in her retirement letter to us, she said she's ready to be grandmother and travel. So good state, good position to be in when you're ready to see the world and spend time with your grandkids. 5.2, extended time for Sean Collins up to 15 additional days. So he is currently one of our psychs. As you know, when Retiba Stillman got the promotion, we are down one psych. So he initially, you had approved for 20 days. So typically does 10 on the front end of school, kind of 5 during and 5 on the close. He is essentially at the end of his 20 right now. So you think about what it is with one psych, and, you know, thankfully Paul Hism has stepped up and said yes, because he's been with us a long time, so had to work him over a little bit, and eventually he said yes. So Paul Hism has been great, but there's a lot of work when you're down a psych. So that is what is accounting for that 15 additional days, and that's basically from this point to the end of the school year. Talking to him, talking to Retiba, we think 15 will handle his needs. 5.3, home instruction tutor at member rate, Shelley Fannin working with a specific student for this school year. 5.4, robotics training, Adam Lieutendinger. That's come out of stipend with the listed account there. 5.5, supplemental contract, Michelle Sandor. That is Coach Gray's position. So if you look at the percentage, that's essentially faculty manager has been assistant to Josh Slaughter. So that has been Steve Gray, and Michelle Sandor, who is a high school counselor, will be fulfilling that for the completion of the winter season and then rolling into our spring sports. 5.6, we have Norwalk High School softball and McKenna Ames. Track, you see some names that you recognize there. Several are split contracts, so it's good because they're willing to do that. And obviously you have people in specialty areas that are helping out. So that's where you're seeing the 50%. So you see that for Carson Ballman, Ethan Boris, or actually he's a full, Jonathan Suter, Samantha Flores, and Jared Kipp. Michael Reeser is a volunteer for Norwalk Middle School Wrestling. 5.8, we have substitutes for the 25-26. We have certified, 3 listed there, and then 2 for classified. And that is everything for personnel.
Is there a motion to approve items 5.1 through 5.8 under personnel?
So moved.
Second?
Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Gonzalez?
Yes.
Mr. Norris?
Yes.
Mrs. Burkett?
Yes.
Mrs. Crawford?
Yes.
Mr. Ritzenthaler?
Yes.
Superintendent report.
6.1, we have an agreement with Lorraine Community College to provide college credit plus courses. 6.2, we have Norwalk High School's program of study, which will be going out to all kids that they're signing up for next year's coursework. If you had seen the email from Ms. Stewart, there were several updates listed. The 3 that I'll speak to is the health and physical education, basically looking at the topics. You have a lot of state of Ohio requirements that have to get fit in, and a lot of those fall within the health curriculum. So that has been updated. Another big change is mathematics. So we have been tying ourselves for in-person classes. Some actually have gone there, but most are in-house, North Central State. And that's been statistics, college algebra, and trig. And those are actually switching to LCC. So that is our plan there. And then the last one that I'll speak to is EHOVI, a lot of their work-based learning and life skills. So we have kids that attend EHOVI, and that has been included into our program of study. So those are some of the highlights from change. A lot of the other ones are simple upgrade or description prereqs that are listed that just get updated year to year. 6.3 is membership for Ohio High School Athletic Association. Again, that is both high school and middle school. This is an annual contract that says we're voluntarily going to join them. So that'll be a signature from the president and then sent back to the state. So that is all I have under superintendent items.
Is there a motion to approve items 6.1 through 6.3 under superintendent reports? Second?
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Norris?
Yes, sorry.
Mrs. Burkett?
Yes.
Mrs. Crawford?
Yes.
Mr. Gonzalez?
Yes.
Mr. Ritzenthaler?
Yes.
For discussion, any open discussion or comments?
We have a lot of work happening today with the weather and getting, so you'll say, so Ralph, you've been at all these building planning meetings, so why we don't want to have flat roofs. So where are we having issues right now?
Flat roofs.
Central office, Main Street. So you have the roof drains iced over. Now they're starting to melt and it's just creating, so we're at water flowing in the classroom. So we might be doing around the clock at Main Street on the 3rd level where we're doing basically a can on wheels and it fills up every 15 minutes and we're dumping that as that's starting to flow through. So that's happening there, and we were shovels on top of central office today, trying to keep that, but it pretty much is clear why this new building, why you don't want to have flat roofs. we talk a lot of like, you know, low slope and those things, but you need to have a slope because anything that feeds into a flat with the roof drains, you know what, they've been iced over this long and we've had some issues, so.
And that came up in the planning stage of this new building, flat roof.
Yeah.
And we just,
Yeah.
that was never gonna happen.
You know, and one of the problems at Main Street is that, you know, that water from the roof runs down, you know, a pipe into the basin out in the parking lot. Well, over the course of plowing that, you know, that snow gets packed down in there and freezes that, you know, the drain is solid ice, so that water has nowhere to go. You know, so we had to take a torch and kind of melt that out and try to get that to move. But
So we have all hands on deck and literally it'll be probably all night long, especially at Main Street, of making sure that can empty down and then that'll probably go all night. So we have that covered. So I'm getting live updates here from Tim, letting me know what's happening and hoping it slows down so we can at least do a gap and maybe wait till 4:15 when this guy's up and ready to take over.
12 years ago, we had the same thing and it was over a long weekend. And didn't know it, and that water ran down all 3 classrooms, 3 floors. Just what, you know, destroyed everything in the
Should hurry up
classroom.
and get this building done.
Yeah,
So 4:30, you're not gonna be checking roads, you're gonna be checking the trash can for water level, yeah.
We had our second academic challenge today at Port Clinton. So Port Clinton, Edison, and Norwalk are the 3 finalists, so made the playoffs. So we were second today behind Edison, so we have a very slight lead. I think a 3-point, if my math is correct, 3-point lead coming to next week. And we won the season, so we're the last one. So we have it next week. So it's us, Edison, PC is the current ranking right now. So it'll be close. So whoever has a strong third week will probably be your champion. So
Did really well with robotics last night.
yeah, we had robotics last night, so that was a fun night to see our kids there. And we don't have too many. There's so many things that we put kids on buses and send them out, and
Yeah,
we had to have a home event, so that was good to see.
that's pretty awesome.
Just want to mention how well done the tribute to Coach Gray was last week. I thought that was phenomenal. Also exciting to hear that, you know, his legacy will continue to live on with Gray's Garage and the gym being named after him. So that phenomenal. And I think, again, the community showed up, 13,000 or whatever the number was, and donations was quite impressive.
So I talked to Beth Sage, so she's done a lot of work with the Willard schools. She lives in Huron. She's a muralist. She does a lot of artwork. She has her own website. So she is the one. She's busy until June. I said, that's fine. So essentially we're looking at where the truck mural is and just off the left between that and the window, that'll just be paint on the wall and that'll state that. And I want to speak to her because I think some of the things that she's done at Willard across the street, there might be some nice areas where she can do like tie in with businesses, the history wall that we do that I think she can, like I said, sometimes you can overdo it, but in some key areas in the new building, I think she'll do a great job. So I definitely want her on the hook here. So in 3 years from now, we might be going back to Beth Sage as a local.
Should be having an unveiling for the Gray's Garage at its some event.
Yeah. And like I said, it'll be done in June likely, and then it'll be ready for, first time people really see it will be when the fall sports, with volleyball as a gym sport, so.
So do we plan on leaving that covered until we unveil it? How do we plan? Gotta make something big for them.
Yeah,
Feel some anticipation there.
Yeah. That'd be a good idea.
Yeah, I actually still like that idea, the one we were talking about across the street, the naming the hallways after the schools that we retire too. So maybe she
Yeah.
can come up with some ideas. I like that idea when we talked about that early on.
right.
Just thinking of-
Yeah, when we visited schools, that's something like the most impressive. We want a history wall and corporation because essentially all the elementary schools that become this place. So like, how is that presented? So we've seen different ways that's done. So I think that's good. Our community wants to see that. And I think we'll have a nice presentation on the walls. And like you said, so there's a reflection. We don't forget, what we had in the past, even though many of these buildings will be, like many places. Just like my elementary school, that's now has corn in it, it's like I used to play basketball in that playground there. It's a cornfield now, and who knew? So yeah, we'll have the same thing here with all of our history that's tied to this town.
Mine was tore down in Westfield.
Main Street has the trash can coming through with the waterfall through. Just kidding.
Special feature there, yeah.
My old high school is already cut in half,
Great. Any other board discussion or comments? Alright, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second,
Second.
roll call please.
Mr. Norris? Yes. Mrs. Burkett?
Yes.
Mrs. Crawford?
Yes.
Mr. Gonzalez?
Yes.
Mr. Ritzenthaler?
Yes.